Lauren Cordova, and today I'll be interviewing my great-grandmother, Dolores Forsch, otherwise known as Grandma Dee. We're just going to be interviewing her about her life and all the great things that she's done and all the exciting adventures that she's gone on. So, without further ado, let's start our interview. So, what year were you born?
1931, which means I'm pretty near that big 80, and I feel good that I can be so healthy and well at that age.
Yeah. So, where did you live when you were little?
I was born in South Bend, Indiana, but when I started school, I moved to Kewanee, Indiana with my grandparents, and I graduated from high school there. So it was a little town of 701 people,
Wow.
and so very little entertainment as the generation now sees it, but we had fun, we played games. And you ask about my TV, and which wasn't even invented then, and the radio, which was strictly an adult entertainment, not for the kids. So we just played games like hide and seek, and we were very involved in church because my grandfather was a mail carrier, and then he was also a minister.
Wow.
And helped with small churches. So a lot of my activities have revolved around the church.
Wow. Okay, so what did your grandparents do for a living?
Well, my grandfather was the mail carrier, and my grandmother just was a stay-at-home mother, grandmother, and she took care of us. We had a big acre garden, and we worked in that and canned and took care of vegetables, and she always had a beautiful yard, which I think you will know that's where I get my love for my yard.
Yeah. Okay, so what were your favorite things to do when you were little?
Well, I had two uncles that weren't very much older than I, and they were like big brothers to me.
Really?
And we played games like tag and hide and seek, and they built a swing for me, and they did all kinds of things. They taught me to ride a bicycle, and when I was 10, my father showed up for the first time in my life with a brand new bicycle for me. So that was really nice, and I rode that bicycle until I graduated from high school.
Wow. So, how many of your relatives have served in the military?
I have a long history of military, starting with the American Revolution. I had so many greats back who fought in the Battle of Bennington and was captured, and right up through my present family, and both my husband and my father served in the military, and I had a son that served in the military and 3 great grandchildren. So.
Wow.
Real military family.
Yeah. All right. So, of course, you didn't have the radio, so I guess that question's out. What were some of your favorite family traditions growing up?
Well, we always came home on Sunday and had a big dinner. And whoever was astray, whether they were passing through the church family that Sunday or whatever, they were invited back to our house, and we all ate. And when they had revivals, we had them come, and I remember sleeping on the floor a good many times and giving up my bed to people that didn't have it quite so lucky, because I was a depression baby. And so in the manner of the church, it was important to share what you had, even if you didn't have a lot.
That's good. So, how many chores did you have to do since you lived on a big acreage?
Well, I didn't live on a big acreage, but we rented an acre of land where we had a garden so that we could put up all our stuff for the year. But I helped in the garden every summer, and then I also always helped my grandmother in the kitchen. And I love to cook because that's what I did when I was little. She taught me how to make all these things that I make for you now. And I think you know that Grandma's always brings the cookies and things like that.
Your cookies are amazing. Okay, so what schools did you go to when you were growing up?
Well, Kewanee had just one continuous school that had both the first grade through the 12th grade, and I went to all those. And I also attended Indiana University for some classes, and also I worked for the Bayer Company, and I worked in the computer department. And I started when computers were such that nobody knew what they were. It was back in the 60s, and so consequently Bayer sent me to a lot of classes, IBM classes in particular, and I learned all my programming skills and all my computer security skills and that kind of thing, thanks to them sending me to IBM schools.
Wow. Okay, so how old were you when you first got married?
I was 18, which is way, way too young.
I agree.
I wouldn't advise it for anybody.
Okay, So how many children did you have?
I have three. I have two boys and a girl. And of course, the girl is your grandmother.
Yes.
And I mostly stayed at home until they were all in school, and that's when I went back to work. And I worked. It was Miles when I went back to work, and eventually Bayer bought us. So, but I refer to my days there as Bayer, even though Miles was the company that I originally started with.
Okay. So, what traditions did you carry on to your own family?
Well, I think we always had Santa Claus come on Christmas Eve, but you couldn't spy what he was putting down, and we would always have a buffet. We'd go to church for candlelight communion service, and we'd come home, and the kids had to go to bed, and then they'd hear ho, 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 and things put together, and bang, 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 but you had to stay in bed till morning, and then you got up and you got to see what all the goodies were.
Well, that's an awesome tradition. So, when did you move to Texas and why?
I moved to Texas when I retired from Bayer, which was in 1990, so I've been here 21 years, and I also moved because my daughter, your grandmother, was here, and we thought in our retirement we wanted to be closer to family, and everybody had left our little town up there in Elkhart, Indiana, and so we decided just to move south and get rid of all that snow and ice and enjoy the Texas weather.
That was a great choice, by the way. So what were your favorite jobs throughout your life?
Well, since I had 28 years of working in the computer center at Bayer, I had a lot of jobs, but I really think the one I enjoyed the most was being a computer programmer, because you got to go out and talk to people that were shuffling all these pieces of paper to do their job, and you modernized them and put them on the computer. And they were so amazed, and it was so good to get systems that really help people do their job better.
Well, that's awesome. So, how many countries or states have you been to?
Well, I've been to all but 5 states, and I plan to visit those 5 states. They're on my bucket list, and I plan to pursue visiting some of them. And as you know, I just finished a trip up the East Coast, and I went back and saw a lot of the cities in New York, clear up to Maine in the United States, but then I also went to several cities in Canada and ended up in Quebec for 3 days.
Wow.
And so I've seen Canada from the East Coast to the West Coast and in between, so I've seen a lot of that. But also, traveling abroad, I've done some of that, and my very favorite city that I've ever visited outside of the United States is Istanbul.
Wow.
And it is just a magical city to me, and the people were so friendly and so nice. I just was there last year, so this is up-to-date information.
That's good. So what was the happiest moment in your life?
I think the happiest moment was when I married your Grandpa Jim.
Oh.
You know, he was the love of my life, and even though he's been gone 3 years, he was the love of my life, and that was, my moments with him was very happy. I could wish a happy marriage like that for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. So what was your favorite vegetable? It's a random question.
Oh, my random question, vegetables, asparagus.
So how do you like your asparagus picked?
I liked it roasted in the oven or on the grill.
Oh yeah?
And with lemon and a little salt, and that's all I like on it.
Wow, that sounds spectacular. Alright, so what other words of wisdom do you have to impart to my history class?
Well, I would say forget about the toys and pursue the things that are really important to you. Education is one of the things that will carry you far. And I can speak from experience that without education, you don't get those good jobs, and you don't manage to retire and live a happy life like I'm living now unless you use your education to get along in this world.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you guys really liked the interview, because I really enjoyed interviewing my great-grandmother. And I will see you guys on Wednesday, I guess. Bye!